So one thing I kind of want to see with the next DC movies is not so much what about the heroes and their origins or how they're portrayed, but so much the expansion of like the world around them. One thing I kind of have to criticize Zack and Snyder for is that there's so much like things to pack into like the DC universe. Not so much from the heroes, but from the worlds they are part of, like with like where Wonder Woman's from, about Krypton, uh, Gotham City. There's not enough about that, and there's a lot of like elements of it that could have made it a bit more fantastical with its portrayal. But it feels like all these places in the movies were set in a way that it was just there to move the plot.
Well, for a lot of it, Zack didn't even really get a chance to really move those things forward. So like for Ben Affleck's Batman, for example, he's been Batman for 20 years. He's already established. He's gone up against Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, all these people that he normally goes up against. He's already beat all of them, put them in prison. So like he's just still trying to clean up Gotham. And then Superman, by the time Batman vs Superman is around, he's only been Superman for 2 years.
Right.
Like Man of Steel, that's literally like when he's fighting Zod, that's his first day as Superman.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, she's given up on, humans and all the other stuff. So she's just kind of like, eh. So she's just trying to live and do her own thing. She hasn't been crime fighting since, I guess, 1984 from her sequel. Aquaman, he's still trying to figure out what he's doing in the world. Flash is just literally getting started. Like, I think from what I have seen in the trailers and heard online, apparently the Flash was in Metropolis the day of Superman vs. Zod. And he's like helping rescue people in like a very makeshift suit.
Right.
So like a lot of these people and these characters, like they're either super established and like everyone knows the origin of Batman. Everyone knows the origin of Superman. I will say not everyone knows the origin of Aquaman, but it gives you that in the Aquaman movie.
Right.
Wonder Woman, it gives you that in the Wonder Woman movie. Flash is going to give you that in the Flash movie. Cyborg, he got his origin told in the Snyder Cut, which I'm appreciative of because Cyborg's one of my favorite characters.
I thought he was done really well in Justice League.
Yes.
It's not so much like to establish these worlds, but to enhance it, give it a bit more flavor. For example, like I feel like the homeland that Wonder Woman's from, I felt
Themyscira?
Like Themyscira. I'm trying to pronounce it right. Themyscira.
Themyscira, yes.
Themyscira. Has Greek gods like part of the whole culture. It's run by these Amazonian women. I felt like there's not enough like say like architecture, like statues and stuff to show this like place that's so far off from society. Like I felt like they could have just had that to make it feel like it's another world that's out of like society.
So there could have been like stuff like the architecture built in to give it more of a
to give it more flavor. Like stuff like that. Like Metropolis, like of course it's a city that had been like decimated, but it could have shown like it was like trying to recover. Like you can see them still building in Metropolis, trying to give like a sign that there is hope because now we have Superman to protect us. Gotham City, it's crime ridden. It's like obviously decimated by like people like the Joker. But
honestly, I really like how they did Metropolis versus Gotham.
Right.
Like, what little bit of Gotham we get to see, it's dirty, it's nasty. And then you look across the water and you see the shining city of Metropolis. It's like, that's what we could be, but we have all these freaks here.
We have to deal with like this guy who we don't know if he's really good or not, like trying to get all these guys like Batman.
Yeah. And then a lot of people, there's still people who don't really believe that Batman exists.
Right. He's just some
mythic figure.
Yeah. Like he's like a ghost basically, like an urban legend. And I really like how they did that with in Batman vs Superman. Like he just seemed like another villain to Superman. and Superman just feels like another threat to Batman, and it just kept that like same barrier to make them not be allies because of that. I really liked how Zack Snyder did that. I just felt like when it comes to the environment around them, they could have done more for it, just to make it seem like not believable in a like superficial sense, like oh, it's like actually like something that could be out there type of thing. But it's like it gives more to the imagination of people to say that these worlds, there could be so much more you can add to it later on by just having them there. Like you look in like Thor, for example. I know not a lot of people are a big fan of the Thor movies or so, but
I like the first two.
I like the first one for sure. I just think that like the setting for it with Asgard was like, I thought the setting was phenomenally looking. It looks beautiful. And Guardians of the Galaxy, all the worlds they went in, they were beautiful and they had a lot of like charm to them.
Yeah.
And I felt like with these movies, like if they were split up more, it would have had more time for that. And I felt like even subtly, you can just have these like motifs like throughout like the scenes just to show that it's part of this area. But the fact that it didn't, it felt like the world felt a lot more smaller than it could have been. That the stakes were really high, but the things that were at stake felt very small in comparison.
That's fair. For me, I really enjoy the trilogy. I love pretty much everything about it other than, the whole Dick Grayson thing.
I mean, like, for all intents and purposes, like, I still stand by what I say is that I enjoyed the time I had. I just don't think I would see it again because of, like, the time it takes to digest it. But from what I've seen, I've enjoyed it. Yeah. But it gives me an idea of what I might want in, like, the James Gunn movies that are coming out in the future. Like, I want to see like that tone where things are very serious out there. It's a dangerous world where we have like Darkseid, we have Brainiac and stuff as villains. Joker is still a big threat despite him being smaller than those two, but that it doesn't give way and it doesn't like let up with the idea of it being more fantastical and like more I guess more comic booky. I don't know the better word for it, but it's just like that you're able to have fun with these like heroes, and it's
you want to see like the big clay monster for like Clayface,
right?
And
like I get why they want to make things like serious, like how they handle gadgets and like crime and stuff, but I don't want it to be like in a way that restricts them from doing these more fantastical elements.
Yeah, no, I honestly think with James Gunn's DCU, I think this is the perfect time to make these movies as comic booky as humanly possible. You know, you can do the white eyes on the masks for like Batman, Robin, whomever. You can show Batman picking up like Solomon Grundy, who's like who weighs like a ton. You can see him picking him up and throwing him across a room.
Like for those types of scenes, like maybe Batman might need a couple of gadgets still, like some bat hydraulics or something like that to carry like Solomon Grundy. But you don't need to explain it so much, You can have these elements where you just have this thing, and for all intents and purposes, it could work like magic, but that's okay because it's part of the plot where you need this creature like made of clay, or you need this undead like gargantuan guy like who's a brute. And it's okay to have these like fantastical elements because you're just telling a good story. Yeah. I feel like if you try to leave a lot to just like having these high stakes and giving explanations for all of it, you could ruin some movies. Like it is a double-edged sword when it comes to exposition. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you tell the right things, it'll be a great thing. But otherwise, just have fun with it, and the audience would have fun with it. Like especially like I talk about this because I like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, for example, because like. For first movie and second movie, like, they felt a bit more down to earth. Like, Green Goblin was not an actual goblin. Mm-hmm. Doc Ock, he was a scientist. They had the explanation for how this, like, tendrils worked. Sandman was obviously, like, balls to the wall, completely different. Like, he was such a straight-up monster. Yeah. Venom was a straight-up alien, so there's no explanation for that. But it was okay.
Yeah, you don't need it.
You don't need it.
I agree with that. Just let the things be things. Let them, if they need an explanation, give the explanation. If not, like, people will just accept it because they know it's fiction. Right. Like, they don't need an explanation as to why Sandman works, but, they know who Sandman is in a way.
They just have him be there.
Exactly.
Just have him be Sandman, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Like with Superman Legacy, with the movie coming out, I don't know the plot if they ever decided what they're gonna do, but you can have these like characters like Mxyzptlk, or like you can have Lex Luthor be Lex Luthor, and it's okay that they don't have to like have this grand idea of the world. Even if you do, you could just make it like monologuing or so about how Superman needs to be stopped or so, when Superman is just being Superman. Like I think there's so many things you can do with the villains for Superman, for example, that don't mess up with the idea of like we have this extraterrestrial being, and like we got to decide if he's gonna be our savior, he's gonna be like our demise or so, like with how Zack Snyder did it.
Yeah.
Because like it's a great argument. It tells a great story about having this supreme, like to the eyes of humans, like supreme being who can easily decimate everybody, and it calls these questions like into front and like front line. I mean, I get it. It's a great story. But you're restricting it to just that when it could just be about Superman fighting villains. And just doing little things like saving cats from trees or like stopping fires and stuff like that. Like very little things that, you know, kids can pay attention to, for example. Or like can appeal to like nerds and stuff like that.
I actually saw a thing the other day, and I shared it in our story on Instagram. You know, if anyone wants to follow us there at...
Oh, yeah, we have an Instagram. There's Squadron.
Yeah, sorry, it's a little plug there. So, this is a quote from Zack Snyder at SnyderCon this past weekend, or the other weekend. "If you can't test the morality of a character, then it's dead. It cannot move." And I really like that. I agree with it. I think it's really cool. But like, you know, if you can't test these characters and try new things with these characters, then what's the point? You know, everyone complained about Man of Steel, like, oh, well, that's not my Superman. That's not how Christopher Reeve did it. That's not how Tom Welling did it. It's like, okay, but this isn't that Superman.
He's not Christopher Reeves. He's not
exactly. He's not Christopher Reeve. He's not Tom Welling. He's not Brandon Routh. He's not George Reeves. He's not Kirk Allen or Alan Kirk, whatever his name was. The original Superman in live action. You know, he's not those people. This is a different take on a fictional character.
Like I didn't see these people up in arms when like the Nolan films for Batman came around.
Exactly. Everyone loved it because, oh, wow, this is new. This is fresh.
It's gritty.
It's like, okay, but...
It's okay when Batman does it. When Superman does it, it's like...
You can change Batman, but you can't change Superman. You can't change anyone else. You can only do different things with Batman. And the whole thing with that is, you know... A lot of people complain about how much Ben Affleck's Batman kills. So, okay. Michael Keaton's Batman literally strapped a bomb to someone and threw them down a drain, and the bomb blew up.
Yeah, I feel like he's literally countered.
He blew up an entire factory filled with Joker's henchmen. Val Kilmer threw up a bunch of coins. Two-Face jumped after his, and he did not attempt to save him. George Clooney, actually, might be the only Batman who didn't kill. Christian Bale, he didn't save Ra's al Ghul, which, you know, apparently not saving him and killing him are just not the same thing. So he let Ra's al Ghul die. He blew up the League of, I think it's the League of Shadows in that.
Mm-hmm. He burned down their entire temple.
Yeah, he burnt down their entire temple. Could have killed multiple people. Let's see. He killed Two-Face in The Dark Knight. And then...
It wasn't really in the Dark Knight Rises. He didn't kill Bane. Actually, technically, it was like Catwoman that did.
Yeah,
but it still stands.
It's okay for all of those versions to kill. And Adam West's Batman killed people too. He dehydrated people into nothing.
He dehydrated people into nothing.
Yes.
That's. I believe you. It just sounds silly hearing it out loud.
It's in Batman the movie, 1966.
But, I believe you.
So like, all of those things are okay, but it's Zack Snyder doing it that people have an issue with.
See, actually, on the contrary, my issue was he didn't have any problems killing those aliens in Justice League. Because I seen them, like, some of them were like ripped to shreds, like from like bullets or like
they don't matter.
Getting stabbed through. They don't matter. I mean, like, yeah, they're demons. It's okay.
They're mindless monsters whose only purpose is to serve Darkseid.
I don't know. Those Bugmen could have had a family.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Actually, I think there was one. He's the only one. He's the one who shot down. I think it was the Flying Fox, Batman's like gargantuan plane. I think he's the only one who deserves credit for anything, because the rest of them are kind of useless. But like, you have all those things that are okay, but Zack wants to change something, do something slightly different, and oh my God, it's like the world's ending. Like, you know what I mean?
It's all part of the plan.
Okay, well, you know what Zack didn't do? Bat nipples.
Bat nipples.
Okay.
I mean, like, see, it's okay when
Joel Schumacher approved bat nipples. Okay,
it's okay when they change all these things about Batman because it's all part of the plan.
That can be approved, but by
God,
God,
about Superman, and everyone's losing their minds.
It's crazy. Now I feel crazy.
Man, Joker is right from the Dark Knight. He said that exact same thing. It's all part of the plan. But for James Gunn's movies, I think that if they just kept to these themes of each character, they could make a really great movie, a great movie series, and still keep the seriousness of, like, say, Zack Snyder's Justice League, but within reason. I think that if they do that, they can get the broadest audience without having to give up creative, like, the restrictions of creativity. I feel like they can follow within the parameters and make something really great with that.
Oh yeah, and I am excited for what James Gunn is going to do and what he's planning, because I'm a DC fan first. I love the characters more than the movies, more than the portrayals, more than the directors. Excuse me, but that's not to say that if Zack Snyder ever got a chance to finish up his story, that I wouldn't jump at the chance to see it.
One thing I kind of also want to see, even though I might not be able to, is just to have some of these movies be standalone in its own way. Like, not tied in at all to this overarching arc. And if so, even so, really slightly.
You mean for James Gunn?
For James Gunn. Like, just to have, like, some movie where Batman's stopping this big plot from, like, either, Scarecrow or Two-Face or Joker, and have nothing to do with, like, what's happening in Metropolis. Just so I can see them flex their directive capabilities and, like, the art,
so
etc.
You want it to be a part of that universe, but not have to tie into anything else.
Right.
Well, I think that's kind of what he's going to go for, or at least I hope that's what he's going to go for. Is like, yes, all of these are their own thing, but they're a part of this broader universe. And I think, honestly, that's the best way to do it.
Right. I think they could definitely pull that off. I think, though, they have to kind of copy Marvel by, like, having it loosely tied in somehow. Like, maybe, like, this villain somehow was implicated in this scheme that coincides with Lex Luthor's planning or something like that ends up screwing up and causing, like, some butterfly effect that causes, like aliens or, like, Darkseid to get their attention. That type of thing. And it'll be interesting to see it that way, but not only if they do it in a way that's not convoluted. Just like little things here and there that they screwed up some bigger plan just because they were being heroes.
So a lot of people are thinking that he's going to go with Justice League: The New Frontier storyline as to how to unite the Justice League. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
So they did an animated movie about it. think in like 2004, 2005. It's on HBO Max. You should check it out. It's really good.
Okay.
But it's like, all the superheroes kind of know who each other are and whatnot, but like they've never had to
Deal with them.
Deal with like
encountering them.
Like a huge threat for them all to come together. And that's kind of like what happens in the New Frontier. Like, it shows it's like everyone's doing their own thing, and then, there's this monstrous thing that's coming out of nowhere, and it's going to take all of us to take it out.
That's kind of what they did in like the Avengers, and it worked out. Like, you can see how like the relationship dynamic is with each of the characters, and they, regardless of all their flaws, they try to make it work out, and it works tremendously, and that's why they were so successful.
So, I think around 2008. Do you know the director George Miller?
I've heard of him.
So he did the latest Mad Max movie.
Okay. Fury Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was going to direct a Justice League movie. It's going to be Justice League Mortal. And it was going to start with Justice League. Armie Hammer was Batman. DJ Catrona. He's actually two of the guys who are in the Shazam family, in the Shazam movies. The guy with the green suit, DJ Catrona, he was supposed to be Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And Freddy, I cannot think of his name. I think it's Brody something. I don't know. Adam Brody something,
okay.
Maybe. So the adult version of Freddy. So the blue suited one.
Okay.
He was supposed to be the Flash. Do you know Common? He was a rapper back in the day. He turned into an actor.
Common. No.
You'd probably know him if you saw him.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to be Jon Stewart.
For Green Lantern, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't remember who else was supposed to be in it.
Let me see. John Miller.
George Miller.
George Miller.
That's Common.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he was supposed to be Jon Stewart. He actually just came out and said he'd still want to be...
See, I almost got hyped because I looked up John Miller and all that popped up was like John Wick. And it's like, oh, him? Like, no.
I've actually seen a lot of people want the director for the John Wick movies to direct the new Batman movie, The Brave and the Bold.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the Russo brothers, who directed Civil War, Winter Soldier, and Infinity War and Endgame, are like, yeah, you know what? We kind of want to direct a Batman movie, so we're down if you want us to. Which...
low-key, I kind of want to see them try in an Elseworlds movie, maybe. Do a DC versus MK movie.
Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, because they have both rights. They done a game for it.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. But
I don't think they will.
No. I mean, James Gunn teased a little while back that, the possibility of doing a DC and Marvel movie is possible.
I mean, they could.
I personally don't want to see it. I would want to see it if it was animated.
Yeah. If it was just like a one-off thing, maybe like a direct to like streaming or whatever, then I'd watch it. But with theater one, no. Yeah,
the amount of storytelling that would have to go into a live-action movie for general audiences to want to go see would be too much to take on. Now, if they wanted to do an animated movie where you can just kind of do whatever you want there, that would be awesome.
It was another little critique I have about Zack Snyder's movies. Apparently, Gotham City and New York City or New York are in the same universe. I thought usually Gotham would replace New York.
No, that's not a Zack Snyder thing.
He didn't. A thing?
Yeah.
I always thought Gotham was just its own state. Like, it replaced New York, and it was never, a thing.
No.
So, they're two different states.
Cities, yes.
Cities.
So,
where are they?
I believe... So, New York is obviously where it's at. I believe that Gotham is supposed to be in, Jersey. I think. Somewhere in that general area.
So, it's, right next to it, and that's why.
Yeah. Originally, though, um, Batman was based out of New York, but in order to, I guess, do more with what they wanted to do, Bill Finger and Bob Kane, the co-creators of Batman, decided to create a fictional city, which was Gotham.
Okay. Because if there's any sort of like Marvel versus DC, I would like to see maybe it'll be like something with Batman versus Spider-Man, for example. Like just have them like have like Spider-Man like show up and like wait a minute, this ain't like Manhattan, and it's Gotham, and he has to deal with like all of this other crime that he can't handle, and he realizes like it's because it was not his home world, and he probably screwed up from some.
Are you saying that because it happened in a comic book?
I never seen it. I didn't even know.
So in the 90s, they did, Marvel and DC did a couple things where the amalgams and crossovers and stuff where they all like converged and met each other. And then there's a universe where some of the characters, Jesus, combined and whatnot and made new characters. So like Batman was combined with Wolverine and made so his name was Logan Wayne, and he was Dark Claw.
That's actually pretty cool.
Captain America and Superman were together. Storm and Wonder Woman. I think it was, I want to say Superboy and Spider-Man and whatnot, but like Joker was mixed with Sabretooth and was the hyena.
That sounds like it could work. That's pretty creative.
It was really cool. It's a really cool concept. I would love to see an animated movie about that in that universe. I think that'd be really cool. But back to Zack Snyder though. I hope one day James Gunn is like, Zack, you're done with your Netflix stuff. Do you want to go back and finish your universe? I have a really strong feeling that Zack would say absolutely. Because if you watch some clips from SnyderCon, you can tell he wants to finish his story, but he's not just going to come out and say it because he doesn't want to, tease people too much or get the fans going. But he definitely wants to finish it, and I think animation is the best option because then that's not going to make Ben Affleck or Gal Gadot get, or anyone else really, in superhero shape, because that's a lot.
It's a lot to do, and it's a lot to like have them stay on and look the same exact way like as it did in the first few movies.
Yeah,
when you could just animate it and have maybe some voice actors handle it, and it'll be great because with animation you can do a lot and get away with it.
Well, so for that I wouldn't hire actual voice actors. I would.
You get the originals.
Yeah, I'd get the originals. Now something like anything else that's animated, I was actually having a discussion on Twitter the other day about that, about how they should do actual voice actors for stuff instead of, let's see, what was it about? Hold on, I got it. Oh, so they announced the cast for the new Transformers prequel that's going to be coming out.
Was it Rise of the Beast, right?
No. It's an animated movie.
Okay.
So it's going to talk about the relationship between Optimus and Megatron and how the war got started and all that.
Oh, does this take place in like Cybertron and everything?
I think so, yeah.
I'm actually kind of hyped for that because I was actually getting really interested. I know this is off topic, but like I'm really interested in Rise of the Beast. Not because I'm a huge fan of the Michael Bay movies, but because my favorite Transformers is going to be in it, and it's going to be so awesome. Unicron, he's just a planet-sized freaking Transformer.
Yeah,
this is cool. Like just having a planet Transformers.
So
I'm excited for that.
So they announced the cast, and Chris Hemsworth is going to be voicing Optimus Prime.
Okay.
And a guy that I've been following him for years. His name's Ryan Unicum. He's from Australia. He's like cast voice actors, and him and I just had a little interaction on there talking about, well, why would you hire voice actors when you can just hire famous people and A-list actors so people will actually come see it?
I mean, like,
He's like, really, bro?
you could,
like,
but then you're just like, are you really going to see it for the movie, or just here to say you've seen it? The actors play like.
Well, that's what it is. You know, a lot of times for animated movies, they hire specific actors. So I'm gonna Mario, for example.
Yeah.
They made Chris Pratt because Chris Pratt has a large fan base. They made him Mario, knowing that
Jack Black is Bowser and stuff like that.
Well, if we get this guy to voice Mario, people will want to come see it because they like him, and it's stuff like that. So like, yes, Chris Hemsworth has a large fan base because of Thor and everything else. So people are going to watch that movie to see him or hear him voice Optimus Prime. I would rather get someone who can sound like Peter Cullen, the original voice of Optimus, or Peter Cullen himself, because he is very much alive, still voicing Optimus Prime. If you didn't know,
No, I know.
Have someone like that who can do that come and voice these characters so that they still sound the way they're supposed to.
No, I agree with you.
And it's like, when they did Arkham Origins, so as a prequel to Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, they didn't have Kevin Conroy come in and voice Batman, but they got a guy who, for the most part, sounded pretty much exactly like a younger,
like Batman voiced by Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you should definitely try to be faithful to like the character's voice, and like I think people who are trying to set up the cast list should be aware of that. I kind of like understand where you're coming from with the Mario movie, but I feel like regarding that like situation, I felt like they probably wouldn't have picked Chris Pratt or any of the other people if they didn't nail the characters perfectly.
well,
Because it's like Nintendo's like.
there was a
eyeballing
lot
it,
of
make sure
backlash
they're
when
right.
Chris Pratt was announced because they're like, this guy's going to be Mario? Because people were expecting it to be,
Like Star Wars.
what's his name? Who is the voice of Mario?
Charles Martinet.
Yeah, so they wanted him. He was like, yeah, that would be great if I could do it, but I can't keep the voice up for that long. Because he can't do it for like that extended amount of time. Because usually it's just wahoo and all.
I mean, like he's
It's
there.
amazing.
I mean, like, and you can hear like.
Yeah,
different-
he's there in the movie.
But I think Chris Pratt, knows exactly how you should
Yeah,
dialogue.
I mean,
and he did a great job.
Yeah.
Especially considering he's Mario.
But
yeah.
there are voice actors who are out there who are phenomenal and can do pretty much anything. Like Troy Baker. Do you know who Troy Baker is?
I do.
So he voiced Joker in Arkham Origins.
Mm-hmm.
He sounds exactly like Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
He also voiced Joker in Assault on Arkham, which was an animated movie, because Mark didn't come and do that one. And then he's done some other things where he's the voice of Joker, or he was Two-Face in Arkham Knight. He's been Batman. Like, he's one of the best voice actors in the world. And there's like, he gets hired to do specific things because he can change his voice and do it.
That's kind of why, like, I said what I said when it came to, like, you don't have to get these, like, actors to do, like, the voices in the, like, say, an animated Snyder movie.
Yeah.
Not because that they can't, but because that the voice actors, like, the whole, like, career is based around sounding like something.
Mm-hmm.
And that the more famous people get from their voices, the more expensive they are, but the more the market grows to have that place to be fit in smaller projects. And I feel like, honestly, like, you can probably get away with having like someone sound like like Ben Affleck as Batman, or like as Cavill as Superman.
Sorry, my dog is sleeping and he's dreaming.
He's like, ooh. Well, but I almost lost my train of thought. But like, now it's lost. I lost my train of thought. But
Sorry.
I think the gist of it was, I think there is a way to have like these voice actors, new talent, come in and do a great job, instead of having to be restricted by like having certain people be there. And with an animated movie, they couldn't definitely have that from available to it, and that's what I like about animation for the most part.
Yeah, but for Zack, he wouldn't do it if the people he cast aren't going to do it.
I agree.
Like, he will not do it. He picked his people for a reason.
They wanted to do it.
And he's not going to do it if they're not for it. Right. Which I commend Zack for. People, and again, we're going to get back on topic of Zack. Zack has gotten a lot of shit the past 10 years.
See reviews
but like you hear people talk about him online, like, yeah, you're kind of being a dick. But you hear actors and other people in the filmmaking world, they talk about Zack Snyder, nothing but positive things. I don't think there's been a single person who has worked with Zack Snyder and met him that has not loved him.
And I've noticed that kind of like with other directors, where they say how rude they are to the actors and stuff like that, but they're always like widely like acclaimed themselves for being great directors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These types of things don't work if there is no chemistry between actors and directors and like entire crew in general. Like the fact that they were able to get these movies out the way they did with these types of lengths in films was a miracle, just because they wanted to do it so much, and like you wouldn't get this in any other studio.
Yeah.
And like the more often we have these actors and these cast people become fans of the things they act in, and I think we being gratefully able to see more movies with enough passion in it that we can see these like stories like with Batman, Superman, Justice League, and even like Marvel's reach their like greatest potential in how we see them, like kind of as these like mythological figures, because that's what they are. They're basically heroes, like the same way as Hercules was, or like Alexander the Great was. We see them in a kind of same way, even though they're fiction. They still hold that place in people's hearts.
I don't remember who said it, but they said that comic book characters are America's version of mythology.
No, I know who exactly you're talking about. I think it was like Joseph Campbell, and he had this whole like allegory between them and like how they fit the perfect archetypes of ancient like fables and the like, and it makes so much sense how to do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff, the reason why it's like the way it is with so many fans is because they fit this mold, and it's also why it's a very, very delicate thing to handle, because like you're not only like trying to create these like epic tales, but you're also trying to create morals for those tales. And if you just create these things where like you just have them fighting, or you just have them no nonsense, or you're just trying to tell a story, it doesn't work, because you're just not making it seem convincing and like connectable to the audience. Zack Snyder, I think he did a great job with that from Batman vs Superman for sure, because he wanted to frame it as like this God versus man like story, that like what would you do to help protect your home against all costs, And they both felt the same way about it, but it's all about like trying to humanize each other rather than dehumanize each other. That was actually a theme that wasn't put out as much.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to see more of that in any superhero movie. Otherwise, it just ends up becoming more schlock, more garbage. Kind of like how like some of the new Marvel movies were.
Yeah. I will say, I actually watched Eternals the other day.
Okay.
Because the director took big inspiration from Man of Steel and how Zack did all that. And I actually kind of liked it. It's different than pretty much every other Marvel movie that's come out. Like, there's the Marvel-esque parts about it, but other than that, it's like has a completely different tone, camera feel, everything. It's like, this is refreshing. I want more stuff like this. But you can definitely there's a reference to Superman in the movie. A kid looks at Icarus and is like, "Hey, you're Superman. You were flying around. You had the lasers coming out of your eyes." So like there was that. And when you pay attention, if you watch a movie and you pay attention, when you see the lasers come out, you can see like parts of his face glowing kind of like you do with Henry Cavill when he starts.
Man of Steel.
So like there's that little nod. And there's just a bunch of little subtleties that are very Snyder-esque that I appreciate. Yeah, I personally, again, I love the Snyder trilogy. I just love Zack Snyder movies. They're just really good to me.
I can understand why there's an audience.
And, you know, in the beginning of the whole Snyder Cut thing, you know, fans were great. We just wanted to see the movie that he wanted to put out. You know, I know my wife and I, we have donated to the AFSP before because we bought some shirts that donated the money directly to that
cause.
And I've donated myself before because you know that's a situation near and dear to my heart. But like in the beginning, it was great and it was amazing to be a Snyder fan. Now, the past couple years since the Snyder Cut's come out, you know, you have some fans that are like, oh, give us more, give us more, give us more. It's like, okay, you need to calm down. And then there's the whole Netflix thing. It's like, that's not going to happen. If people want to see more of Zack Snyder's stuff and they want to see Snyder finish up his story, I truly believe that animation is the only way to do that. Or, like you had started to say earlier, a graphic novel. Right. I think that would work great. But if I'm going to see it, I want it to be at least animated.
Ideally, yeah. I mean, like,
so that, you know, you hear the actors who portrayed these characters and all of that.
I just think that it's the most conservative way of trying to finish it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more easier than, say, having like animation because the budget is tremendous. It's a lot easier now. But honestly, like I do, from the time that Justice League and the Zack Snyder movies were like prominent, like from like 2020 and the 2019 and everything, I heard so much from both sides regarding how well loved and how well hated it was. But I never seen that dynamic with Marvel.
Yeah. Well,
and the thing, and I think of it as a good thing that you have so many like widespread opinions about a movie because that shows people are paying attention.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been preaching this to people for years is love them or hate them, Zack Snyder has changed the comic book movie genre. I personally think he has elevated it because, you know, we're 10 years later and we're still talking about Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman and Justice League. Like, however many years since all of these come out, we're still talking about them. And I think in time, people are going to look back on these movies with a fondness that they didn't realize that they had. And they're going to rewatch these movies, give it another 10 years or so. We're like, he was onto something. He was doing something that was way out in left field, but it was so much better than I remember it being, and I wish we could have gotten what he wanted to do originally.
Right. And I think that's one of the biggest differences I see between DC and like the Marvel movies. Is because with Marvel, if you're going to rewatch it, let's say I'm 10 years in the future, I'm not really rewatching it to see a great, like, try to deep dive into it and see it in depth, but I'm kind of just trying to relive the hype in a way that I had back in, like, before, like, Infinity War and everything.
Yep.
And I feel like that's going to end up being, like, a feature for a lot of the audience. Whereas with the Zack Snyder movies, it's going to be about trying to see this, like, story that has all these details and trying to, like, understand, like, how everything meshes together in a way that ends up becoming more and more rewatchable as time goes on. I'm glad that Zack Snyder's movies exist. I feel like they're a great counterbalance to the tone and like style of Marvel films, and I hope to see in the future maybe a way they can reach a compromise with both styles and how different directors handle it, because that can create something beautiful, like magnificent.
So when you really think about it, James Gunn and Zack have very similar filming styles. James Gunn has a very different sense of humor than Zack does, and I think you'll agree to that. Mm-hmm. But like they're both great at capturing the big picture and having they are really great, both really great with CGI, and both like using the broad strokes of the brush and painting these beautiful pictures on the screen. I think James Gunn is going to be able to deliver something very Snyder-esque, but bring it in a new light and hopefully make it to where more people will want to seek it out and watch it. Because Zack Snyder films are not for everyone. They're really not. Right. Whereas like you watch Marvel and they're meant for everyone of any age, pretty much. Zack has what he likes to do, and that's what he does. And there's nothing wrong with that.
He had his dream for Justice League, and to a degree, he's earned it.
It is very unapologetically Zack Snyder, and I love it.
And I think with James Gunn's future movies, he's gonna have it be a lot like Snyder's in like style, but I feel like he's probably learned a lot from what didn't work with Zack Snyder's movies, and he's able to evolve from that, and that's going to end up showing up as his own style in a way.
I hope it's going to be, this is what worked for DC movies in the past and what has not worked, and this is what's worked for Marvel and what has not worked, and we're going to take all of these things, learn from it, and elevate it.
Exactly. And I think we could leave it at that.
I agree. So make sure you pick up next time.
Yep, next week we'll be talking about something else.
I believe it's going to be Batman Beyond.
Oh, yeah, that'll be really good.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait.
See you next time.